Hello, everybody. It is 1:51 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, September 19, 2017. I've got some breaking news for you. A new 7.1 earthquake has struck near Mexico City next to Popocatépetl volcano. This is a very large earthquake for the location. Most likely, right now, there's a lot of people either injured or possibly worse, guys. Get the word out right now. Major earthquake striking right on land south of Popocatépetl volcano near Mexico City. Now, this earthquake is what we were looking for Mexico, and we issued the warning. We said it should be a magnitude less than the 8.1. Here we are now. 7.1 is struck, and it struck to the north, as expected. So we issued a warning. This week, after the 8.1 struck, we said pressure was going to be transferring to the north. There was 32 feet of movement here in Mexico a few days ago with the 8.1. And it was northwest and southeast movement. This led us to issue the warning for the larger earthquake to strike. And not larger than the 8.1, but larger than any of the other events. And I talked about this last night in my update. Feel free to go over to my YouTube channel if you're curious and watch my update from last night or the night before, talking about pressure transferring to the north and looking for about a magnitude less than the 8.1. And now here we are. We have a 7.1, exactly one magnitude less. And this is in line with the deep earthquakes that happened over here in the West Pacific. This is now a repeat event where we've seen deep earthquakes in the West Pacific, followed by shallow, large earthquakes in the East Pacific in this particular location in Mexico. Now, the previous location, let's just be accurate about this. The previous large earthquake was right here where our pinkish-colored earthquakes are. Now the new large earthquake on land as opposed to out to sea. And that's why I'm worried about it causing major damage. We have a new swarm going up into the mid-range 3, almost to 4.0 at the South Long Valley caldera. That's right at Volcano Peak. In case you guys are paying attention to what's going on here, Volcano Peak at the Coso Volcanic Field just got hit with a noteworthy swarm of earthquakes pretty much around the same time that this 7.1 struck next to Popocatépetl volcano down here in Mexico. We need to watch for the potential of a large eruption to also accompany this earthquake because it's close proximity to the volcano itself. I do find it highly interesting that a swarm has broken out on the South Long Valley caldera at Volcano Peak. Volcano Peak is very impressive if you guys take the time to go look it up, or the 7.1, the location at Popo. We should probably do that just for our own scientific sake of looking things up. Let's start with the 7.1, quickly pull the coordinates from the USGS and show you how close it is. Okay, so we're talking about this will cause pretty serious damage in the area for all my viewers down there in Mexico. No bueno, guys. This one's not good. But again, we issued the warning for it. There was a multi-day warning for this. If people are injured, it's only because they didn't get the warning and know to watch for it. So here we are. Here is Popocatépetl, and there is Mexico City. So this is certainly close enough to cause damage in all the surrounding cities here, and most likely around the volcano itself. It was certainly felt across Mexico City, and like I said, anything above 7.0 in past broadcasts, I've said this, is enough to cause devastating damage in areas where there's poor construction. And we know exactly the buildings around here are not exactly built to an earthquake code that you would expect like in the United States or maybe over in South Europe or similar. Okay? So that being said, with that earthquake, let's go look at the swarm in California that just suddenly broke out. Little Lake, California. Well, I can tell you right now, there is not a little lake at the location. It's, well, here, let's just show you. Picture speaks 1,000 words. New swarm breaking out here. Now, what's right here? The Coso Volcanic Field. I showed this last night in my update. So feel free to pause it and read it. It's from Smithsonian there. But look where it is. We are at the Devil's Kitchen. This is Devil's Kitchen. That's not the way I named it. That's what they call it. Devil's Kitchen, where they've drilled into the upper reaches of the magma chambers of Coso Field and Volcano Peak, and they're pumping in water that then is steamed off and taken to these turbines that provide electrical power for the area. So we get a noteworthy swarm breaking out there. This is Volcano Peak here. It speaks for itself. That's a cinder cone, black and red. That's a lava flow that comes off there and is pooled up out in the desert. Pretty old, but these are all individual cinder cones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 right there. Another 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 right in this little area. Then we got another one down here, 13. And then over to the west, these are all lava flows. They're mining it out, but here's another cone and cinder. All right, and that is interesting to see that happening right now. The other swarm up to the north is at another volcano called Soda Springs, Idaho, and Sulphur Peak. You know what? Let me just show it to you as well. Why not? Picture speaks 1,000 words. And coordinates can come from USGS or EMSC. They're both, EMSC is just repeating the USGS information if you guys don't know. Their source is the NEIC, the National Earthquake Information Center from the U.S. on these earthquakes. Okay, so here we are, and here's Soda Springs Hill Cinder Pits. And the cinder pits are a spot where they're digging out an old volcano here. And it goes up to the north. You have Conda Buttes, Decay Butte, Cinder Island Volcano, and Sulphur Peak is right here next to the earthquake itself. Okay, and Soda Springs, of course, gets its name from the effervescence in the waters associated with the volcanic chambers down below. And you guys are welcome to look up Soda Springs, Idaho for more information. So if you're just now tuning in, a 7.1 earthquake has struck on land near Mexico City, south of Popocatépetl volcano. All the other locations right now up to the north that we see movement are at volcanoes themselves or pumping operations in the Midwest. This was forecast to occur. Go over to my YouTube channel, watch the last 2 videos over the last 2 days, and we've issued warnings for something less than the 8.1, but a noteworthy sized earthquake to be striking again in Mexico, talking over the past couple days of looking out for that. It has now happened, and I'm willing to bet a good amount that there's a fair amount of damage based upon the location and depth. It's only 50 kilometers deep, and the location on land south of the volcano near some populated areas, unfortunately. It's south-southeast of Mexico City, but it's close enough to shake the whole region up. Have a plan and be prepared. This fully fulfills the forecast for Mexico at this point. If you were keeping track of areas that we named, you must check this one off the list, and this one is very significant. One more time, let me drive this point home. Deep earthquakes mean shallower, larger earthquakes along the plate boundaries within days. Here we are, a 7.1 striking how many miles from the 8.1? You know what? Let's just go ahead and take a quick look and figure it out. Let's see how many miles away the 7.1 is from the 8.1, and yes, they certainly are related. If anybody tells you they're not, they just don't know what they're talking about. So here we go. All right. 7.1, 8.1. Now we'll measure our distance. First, again, we've got our coordinates already marked. Wait, I don't have the coordinates marked. Hold on. We'll do this. Let's go mark these coordinates. This is how you do it. You have to figure it out yourself. No professional is going to come in and tell you anything about this. They're not going to go measure the distance and say it's related. They'll say it's a coincidence. You watch. They'll say, oh, it's just a coincidence that this just happened. M7.1, September 19th, 2017. Okay, now let's go get the 8.1 coordinates, and we're going to measure the distance between the two. Okay, paste. And I needed to do this anyways. I should have it already marked. Sorry guys, this is how you do it real time. Please mark M 8.1. Damn, why is it doing that? M 8.1. What's the exact date? September 8th. Okay. So it took 11 days for it to go that far. It took 11 days for it to travel. How many miles? This is going back against the grain. In case people didn't know, the normal flow of pressure isn't in this direction. So this is like going upstream. It'd be like walking back up a very fast-flowing river. Okay, distance on this, 390 miles, 400 miles away. In kilometers, that is 630 kilometers apart. So it took 11 days to travel 630 kilometers upstream. Let me show you what I mean by upstream. See which way the arrows point? The arrows point down to the east-southeast. So the pressure had to travel upstream, actually flow back up the river of seismic pressure. And it caused a magnitude less. It lost a magnitude's momentum trying to do that. But it took 11 days for that to happen. That's a new record, I think. Now you can certainly see Mexico is moving. If we go back 13 or 14 days, 2 weeks, go back 2 weeks, watch my videos. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how Mexico had gone quiet, and there weren't any earthquakes in Mexico of any noteworthy size. And there were a boatload of eruptions. Popocatépetl, Fuego, Santa Guido, Turrialba, and Poes. All of those erupting at once, within days of each other. Let me show you where they are so you can understand what happened. 2 weeks ago, Popo, Fuego and Santa Guido in Guatemala, Turrialba and Poes here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 volcanoes erupting within days of each other and going with multiple blasts. The earthquakes then stopped. Then a series of deep earthquakes happened over here in the West Pacific a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Then the 8.1 struck on the opposite side of the plate. The volcano eruption stopped, the earthquake stopped, big earthquake hit. Then it all picked back up. Now pressure is transferred, and it's going to continue to transfer. I would be willing to put a good wager on it. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would get my Dos Equis too. No, just kidding. But up to the west-northwest, up here in the Gulf of California, we should watch for new movement to strike at least 1 magnitude less than the 7.1. It could go down to 6.1 or upper 5 to be striking in the Gulf of California here pretty soon. So movement is happening up to the west-northwest. Would it take another 11 days? It could. 11 days from now, okay? I don't normally issue forecasts beyond a week. So we'll be on for multiple times before 11 days, but we'll be watching over the next several days to see if this 7.1 pushes further to the west-northwest than it already has. It's going against the grain. The normal flow is to the southeast. Now, if you're over in the Caribbean, pay attention, please, because a 7.1 striking here upstream from the 8.1 means that you have to watch out for large activity to come over your way as well. It probably won't be as large as the 7.1, but I don't like to rely on probably. With what's going on right now, and it taking 11 days for it to go upstream, I'm still looking, just in case, over the next, let's put it at 48 to 72 hours from now, over to the east of all this, over in the Caribbean. This is the Cayman Trench. This is Jamaica and Cuba and Dominican Republic and Haiti. And you'll notice that there's a silent zone across all of the Central Caribbean. That's going to change with a new 7 there and an 8. Now we have a 7 and an 8 in the last week and a half over to your west without hardly any movement over to the east. That will change this week. So be ready for it. Don't say you weren't warned when we're sitting here and we've got a 7 after an 8, both a few hundred miles over to your west. And this is on top of all the other stuff that's going on with our volcanoes and our pumping operations up in the United States and the deep earthquakes over here in the West Pacific. It's a lot going on. I would encourage you to have a plan and be prepared just in case. You may never have to use the plan, but if you have to use it, you'll be prepared as opposed to the people around you who aren't. And I'm not talking about some kind of huge checklist and all that. I'm just talking about the basics. Taking shelter underneath a desk or table or doorway, but the doorway, it still leaves you vulnerable. Things can fall and hit you. It's a really narrow space. Think about it. So underneath a table or desk or doorway, and you are then listening as you're underneath the table or desk for whether or not you need to exit the structure. And you will know. You will hear cracking in the walls. You'll hear shifting in the house, and that will be then a sign that you need to leave. So when a 7 is striking like this, you will have to exit the structure most likely. You'll want to at some point if you're in a stone structure or even if you're in a frame structure sometimes. And your exit plan needs to be, well, first of all, you need to know which door you're going to go out of. Secondly, you need to know what's outside that door. Make sure nothing can fall in front of the door either, because what good is the door if you can't open it? Right? Basics. Basic things. Now, down in Mexico, 7.1 striking. We'll get this. This will be making international news because most likely a 7 down on land in Mexico will cause some damage. And unfortunately, that can lead to injuries and worse. Word up and much love to my viewers, guys. This is a seismic go time, as we call it. So seismic go time means you need to have a plan. All right? I'm just going to repeat myself one more time. No.